Georgia. Today is Saturday, and we have some distinguished personalities who are going to discuss or do a campaign, an awareness campaign on sexual-based violence in Liberia. We want to welcome all our guests from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia. Please invite a friend, share the show, and let's get this awareness campaign going. To our panelists, I want to say welcome. We have Mr. Samuel Zabe, who's joining us from Monrovia. Sam, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much, Mr.
We also have joining us from the nation's capital, Madam Felicia Saki Dosomon. Felicia, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you.
We also have Mr. Aaron Ireland joining us from Monrovia. Aaron, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here.
Last but not the least, we have Jackie Sayer. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yes.
Welcome, Jackie, to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you for having us. We're very pleased to be here.
Thank you. I've seen you, host a number of shows or appear on a number of shows with this campaign. So today we have an awareness of sexual-based violence in Liberia. So just briefly, let me start with Aaron, who's joining us from Monrovia. Aaron, why are you here?
Okay, thank you very much. Like you said, my name is Aaron Ireland, and I live in Monrovia, and I'm a young man. I'm an advocate, and I intend to see all forms of SGBV, start at a zero level in Liberia. And I'm here today because we've seen in our country that SGBV has been a serious issue, and there have been a lot of alarming cases about rape and other forms of sexual gender-based violence in our country. So as a team and as a group, we intend to raise our voices to make sure that we call all of these authorities and people, perpetrators who are constantly in the habit of, carrying on violence against women and girls and even boys, cease and at a zero level in Liberia. So we as a team, we are together to raise more awareness on these issues and see that the SGBV has been eliminated in Liberia.
Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard from Aaron Ireland why they are here. So we take this time to go around the room and say something just brief about yourself. Let me start with Jackie this time. Jackie, Saya, a little bit about yourself. Let's go around the room just to get my viewers to know you a little more.
Okay, thank you. I'm a member of the Gender-Based Violence Awareness Group. I'm an alum of the University of Liberia and an alum of Cornell University. I live in upstate New York, and I work at Cornell University as a program manager for the Institute for African Development. And I think that I got interested in this when Ms. Telco reached out to me, but I've been very concerned about the high level of gender-based violence among Liberians, especially with regards to women and vulnerable children. So we are here today to not only raise awareness, but to sensitize our people and also to strategize with them about ways forward. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, and we are also glad to have you. Samuel.
Thank you, Mr. Jack. My name is Samuel Zabe. I'm a gender activist. I have been working with the IRC Gender-Based Violence in Sierra Leone since 2003, 2004. And I also work with the Center for Victims of Torture. That's a psychosocial care. And locally in 2015, I worked with PCI, that's the Project Concern International, as a psychosocial counselor and administrator for the project during the Ebola era. I am very glad to be part of this team today because of the passion I have alleviate gender-based violence as a whole. Gender-based violence has four main scopes. That's the psychological violence, sexual violence, and economic violence. And we also have that of sexual violence, yes, and physical violence. So I'm part of the team today to create that awareness to the world, Liberia, and to discourage gender-based violence of all sorts, especially sexual gender-based violence.
Thank you, Samuel. And once again, welcome to Focus on Liberia. We are so glad to have you. Let's go to Felicia.
Good day, everyone. I am excited to be a part of this group and to talk about sexual gender-based violence. I work at the Ministry of Education as the Assistant Minister for Basic and Secondary Education. Within my view is the division of girls' education. So I think I'm properly placed in this conversation. So I'm happy to be a part of the discussion and then to give you some information about what has been happening and what our thoughts are around this topic. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we are happy to have you, especially from the Ministry of Education dealing with girls' education. Let me go to Aaron. Aaron, a little bit about yourself.
Thank you. My name is Aaron once more. I'm a youth advocate and I work with a series of local and international organizations in Liberia in regards to SGBV. I currently head a local youth group called Youth Alliance for Life Skills, and we're basically into SGBV matters and raising more awareness and teaching young people about SGBV in Liberia. I also work with PSI on a sexual reproductive health program from Global Fund. And I'm so glad to be a part of this team, and it's my hope that being a part of this team, like we all know that this team is meant to raise more awareness and segment authorities and people to the spotlight, victims of SGBV, and also try to see how best we can help them to tell people about sexual gender-based violence in Liberia and how the rate is increasing and how we can all mitigate these as Liberians. So I'm so glad to be here. I'm very, very glad, and I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion.
Thank you so much, Aaron. And I'm hearing nurse from the background. I don't know who background that is. Let me check. No, it's not. All right. Now, thank you again. From what all of you have stated, you are stressing some keywords: sexual and gender-based violence, and sometimes you say gender-based violence. So let's start basically with the definition of terms. What is gender-based violence, and how is that different from sexual based violence, for the lack of a better word? You have sexual and gender-based violence, and you have gender-based violence. Give it to me, define those words. What does that mean? Samuel, you want to take a stab at it?
Yeah. So gender-based violence is the umbrella term. And I was just telling you that we have kinds of gender-based violence. So gender-based violence is the umbrella term. If you dissect gender-based violence, you go out to sexual violence, you go out to physical violence, you go out to economic violence and what have you. But gender-based violence is any act of violence that is inflicted on a person because of his or her gender. So any sort of violence, it can be physical violence, it can be economic violence, it can be sexual violence inflicted on someone psychologically because of his or her gender. That is gender violence. Gender-based violence will be in a particular locality. Like we have a case study in Africa. All right, violence inflicted on people because of their gender in a particular locality. That was a case study, brought up by some of the non-governmental organizations that actually, try to find some of the causative, factors that lead to gender violence or gender-based violence. So violence inflicted on anyone, that's just the simple definition, inflicted on anybody because of his or her gender, that is gender violence. So if it is based in your locality, gender-based violence in Liberia, gender-based violence in Sierra Leone, gender-based violence in Africa as a whole. So that is just it. And I believe as we go on, we'll be able to explain more about the types of gender-based violence, even though for our group, we are focused on sexual, violence.
Thank you. And everyone keeps saying our group. What is this group? Let's tell me a little bit about the group. Jackie, you want to start?
Okay, so Jackie, can you take that, please?
You are muted. You can unmute yourself, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Jack, before Jackie.
Yes, you go, Samuel.
Yeah, before you come in, Jackie, we try to share, but I think the host has disabled the sharing. So if you want to share this program, can you please check your Mr. Jack?
No, you can share it from Facebook.
Yeah.
See that Tabina will send it to you and you share from Facebook. We are live on Facebook.
Okay, good. All right.
Yeah,
okay, Jackie,
yeah, it's a group of concerned men and women from all over the world who have come together to a common goal, which is to bring awareness, to strategize and to try to end gender-based violence in Liberia. So the group is it's a close-knit group, but it's made up of so many people with different concerns. There are people who are interested in trauma among victims who suffer violence. There are people who are interested in the education of young girls, like Madam Felicia. There are people who are interested in reaching out, helping physically with things, with advice, with food and things. So it's not a monolith. We come together as a group to share ideas, but the group, as we said before, it's forming into a force. And I know that people say, but well, what does it mean? Our mission is to end gender-based violence in Liberia. Our mission is to educate. Our mission is to challenge the status quo that makes these things possible. So that's in a nutshell what our group is about.
Thank you. And does this group have a name? And what was that one thing that was the trigger for this group to come together?
I think for me, the trigger was the Mariah Lukin saga that really enforced me coming into this group. Before then, I guess it was the multiple, acts of violence against young women, against women, and with impunity. I think those are the things that kind of propelled me. I'm sure other people had different motivations, but for me, it's just the no follow through. Every week there was another story and another story nonstop, and there was nothing done. So I think for me, the catalyst was hearing these stories and seeing that there was no end in sight. And as I said, for others, they had different motivations.
Yeah.
But for me, it was that.
Let's go to Felicia. Felicia, what was that one thing that made you to join this group? And how has that been so far? Please unmute yourself. Felicia, sorry, we can. All right.
Sorry, I was invited to this group and I accepted on the condition that we are preaching gender-based violence. We want want to stop gender-based violence, but we need first to do some education around gender-based violence. In our country, and maybe I will link it to the war, people have taken violence as a way of life. It's come to the point where you don't see it as something that is not right. So, for example, a man beats his wife and the woman gets mad and takes some action. The very same women will say, oh, but what she vests for, I'll dress for the to be, or what gonna make him be woman. If there are children in the classroom, and you find a boy hitting on a girl, you find a teacher hitting on a girl, it's everybody is doing it, so people think that it's okay. So people need to be educated about what it is and what they shouldn't be doing. So it is from that background that I think I'm interested, because when people, I know a couple of years ago, I attended a workshop on gender-based violence, and it was an eye-opener for me, because you're in a workplace and you see someone come in, it just touch you anyway, and you make an issue about it, so but what a big deal, so that you know, but it has become a way of life. And when something becomes a way of life, to get it out of the system, we need proper education, we need strong awareness at all levels, not just focusing on one group. The parents are one side, the government is one side, the advocacy groups are one side, because we know that many times we've heard about violence within some advocacy groups. So every sector, every key player needs to get some form of education, so that this thing that we're talking about is not just talk, it's something that we can see, we can do something about. So I think that's what comes up my acceptance to the group.
Right. And let me go to Aaron. We call this violence. You know, to me, the violence suggests some form of violence. No puns intended. But let's say, and Felicia just made a mention of something like sexual harassment. You know, at the workplace, things like that. Are they considered gender-based violence if there's no actual violence involved?
Oh yes, it is considered sexual gender-based. It is considered gender-based violence, because if take for example, you are at work and someone is being violated, or their rights are being violated because maybe this person is a female and she feels inferior to all of the men around her, and people are trying to get her down, it's a form of violence. And this is some of the reason why we are here.
And so, this group, you're making your rounds on television, creating awareness and making people to be aware of this. What is the next step? Besides coming on TV, what else do you do as part of to foster your mission?
Well,
Says Jackie, you want to take that? Okay, no problem.
Oh, says Jackie, Jackie, you got to unmute first before you talk. I think you are.
Oh, I said Samuel was about to answer it, so I'll wait for him to answer.
Go ahead. Anybody can buttress that. So go ahead, Samuel.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Aaron was saying. What I do is to kind of use or explain gender-based violence in 4 thematic areas. That is the physical violence. That is just where Felicia talked about someone beating another person. And the sexual violence is where sexual assault and harassment. For under sexual violence, we have the physical violence, psychological violence, where for instance is where you deprive someone of getting what they're supposed to have, the basic needs they want. economic violence. So that for me, so now, for the sake of this group, we are focusing on anything that has to do with sexual violence. So with sexual gender-based violence, sexual gender-based violence group. So yes, sexual violence in terms of rape, in terms of assault, wherein when we define sexual assault, where you use tangible items to penetrate. Then we have sexual harassment. If you are flirting someone and the person doesn't like it, the person doesn't like you, you don't go around, flirting them. You don't do that. Or even on the job, where, for instance, female wants to get employed, but the employer cannot, give the job to the person without exploiting the person, sexual exploitation. That is another aspect of it. So we want to explain these things so people can know that whether they know consciously or unconsciously, these are all violence and they are crime, they are criminal, related.
And Mr. Jai, when you asked the question, you said, what is sexual violence and what is gender-based violence? There are many people who don't know, that one is part of the other. This group first has to bring awareness, and then we have to ascertain what is the degree of ignorance or confusion that is there that we need to address. For example, even in the United States, right? They're having book clubs, discussion on racial inequality and things.
Hold on, Jackie. I'm getting background noise. Samuel, can you mute yourself? Let me see. I want to check where this noise is coming from. Okay, go ahead, Jackie. Maybe it was coming from Samuel.
So first, when we talk about awareness, and we're talking about all sorts of sexual or gender-based violence, people have been calling in, people have been joining the group to say, oh, this happened to me. That is awareness resulting in action. So for example, just recently, there was a journalist who said that, young girls, they should know what they're wearing because, if they wear something different, they will be raped. Now, please tell me, no one has ever asked, what was the rapist wearing? Nobody has ever asked, when a 2-year-old is raped, are you telling me that 2-year-old was sexually provocative? We're saying these are the things that you should look out for. And as we raise awareness, and as people see these things, then they will say, okay, so this is what they're talking about. So now I'm aware that when I'm sitting at my computer and my boss rubs my shoulder and puts his hand under my shirt, this is violence to me. So then once that awareness comes about, the next one is strategy and action. So this is the first step we are on to action, to strategy, to try to alleviate and end this gender-based violence. So I think as we go around talking, yes, we're going to a lot of shows, but we're saying we want to reach as many people as possible to say, this is not okay. This sexualized society that we're living in, it is not okay. And here's why it's not okay. And it doesn't have to be sex. It can be a power play. So that's why we are doing these talk shows.
Great. And let's go to Liberia now and see how does that look like? What is the rate? Give me some numbers, about sexual or gender-based violence in Liberia that you think that maybe is alarming, maybe it's going down or going up. Numbers are very important. Somebody told me they are so important that even God knows that. And so one book in the Bible is devoted to numbers. Give me some numbers when it comes to Liberia that make you think that this is alarming and needs to stop. Anybody?
All right. So, says Felicia, you want to take that? Or I could just go ahead.
Felicia is muted. If you can unmute before you talk. Just mute while you are not talking. When you
Samuel, I think Samuel can do that. Samuel, you want to take that?
Okay. Yeah. Well, we cannot give you right now a specific figure. but we can give you an explanation with the point
that
for
will work.
Are we there?
Yeah, go ahead. Just when you are not talking, you can mute yourself because there's background noise from you there.
Okay. So with the population that we have, we can say the cases are alarming. When I was working with the PCR Project Concern International, I find out that we had a lot of constraints in going down to the landward counties, even to provide healthcare delivery. Healthcare, I mean, if you go to a locality, for instance, like in Bon County, Lower Bon County, called Yabaya and Digue, Mawa, and all those places, to get there is very difficult. So we have what we call health posts. The health posts are, just stations where the health workers go either on the market day. If Thursday is a market day, that is the only Thursday that the people are going to receive health care in that locality. So coming back to general issue, the rate of the cases of general issue in Liberia, we would say awareness, sensitization, and mobilization, trying to transform the mind of the people. The cases are hard because when we look at the constant fighters of gender violence, I witnessed a situation where a young man approached a lady, but while he was approaching this lady, he used to offer her, money, clothes, and what have you. So later on, the girl noticed that he had another wife. So the girl told him that I'm not interested because I don't want to have a mate. I want to be by myself. So this guy demanded all that he gave this girl. So he went to the clan chief, and then the clan chief told the girl that you have to pay the man back his money. So I said, "You kidding me? That's awful. She didn't ask you, you offer." So you see the mentality. I'm just telling you that traditional belief, religious belief, these are constant fighters that lead to gender-based violence. And until our group can succeed in sensitizing, mobilizing, and creating awareness in Liberia and most of Liberia, we will say the cases are hard because perpetrators are on the daily basis, victimizing our young girls, children. We have a case this few days, I think everyone knows about that. We talked about a girl who was raped by her stepfather, and then she had a kid. All right, and then this case right now. So this is the situation we're talking about when it comes to numbers. It's far above. Every day harassing, knocking the booted of females. That is harassment. You don't do that. So the awareness program that Jack talked about, we design our strategy. Even though we are still in the preliminary stage, we design our strategy in a way that will be awareness and then recruit gender transform men, and moving to be gender activists. So if you are activist, that you are sensitive. So if you are sensitive, you will also be able to join us to propagate the information and create more gender awareness in the public. So while we are waiting for other social care giving, medical care, legal aid, victims,
Samuel, your connection is getting bad. We're not really hearing you.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, so just to add to what Samuel had just said, right? Just to add to what Samuel has just said, last year there was statistics about the rate of rape cases in Liberia between January to June last year, and we have over 800 cases that were reported in just the half of the year. We have over 800 cases, and these cases, out of these 800 cases, we have over 600 cases of these, reported cases that were done against, children and children below 17. So for this year, I know that the Ministry of Gender has just published their 2019 report, and I haven't accessed that yet. But I know that there has been an increasing rate. Last year we had, just in a half of the year, we had over 800 cases. Now, since the outbreak, since the lockdown of this coronavirus, we are having numerous of cases that have been uprising. Like what he made mention of the young man who allegedly raped his stepdaughter. I mean, it's not even alleged right now because the man went to court yesterday, and he admitted that he did, and the girl is pregnant. We had a girl 2 weeks before that who was 10 years old and was raped by this community guy because the girl was selling how do you call it, milking it, and this guy raped the girl. We've had so many cases between January to this time. We've had another case in Nima County of a girl who was raped by her stepfather. So there are a lot of alarming cases. Right now, we cannot say we'll give you full statistics about what the rate of cases in 2020 because they're still happening, and the Ministry of Gender has not come up yet. But with the pandemic, with the COVID-19 right now, there has been alarming cases. Every 2 weeks, we have more than 2-3 cases alarming in our country, and this is alarming. This is why we are here. This is why we need to raise more awareness.
Thank you. Now, one of your team member, Precious Temia Kotie, has just joined us. Precious,
Precious has just joined us. I forgot it.
We want to say, Precious, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Let me go to Felicia and see, because talking about these things, gender-based violence, and you are already at the Ministry of Education. Is this group working with any government ministry or agency? How are you collaborating or talking to, for instance, Ministry of Education? Because I believe that if that is part of the curriculum, that will go a long way to teach people about these things very early in their development. So Felicia, tell me about what this group is doing to partner, collaborate, or get in touch with other people, especially those in government.
All right, thank you. And I think this group is very new. And this came up like Jackie said, just now. Okay. And so this group is still in the process of putting its feet on the ground. And that's why they are selective in the membership, so that membership spreads to other relevant agencies. And I would also like to see some members from the security sector to be part of this group, because it's not a good thing that we wait for something to happen before we talk about it. But if we begin to do something about it, at least do our little bit, it will help. Let me give you an example of myself. And that's why I am saying, in everything that we do regarding our children, the parents play a key role. Most of the people who are parents today in Liberia, for them, parenthood evolved. They weren't ready to be parents. People became parents because they got pregnant. So that gap is already there. So that's one major thing we will need to look at. In our programs at the Ministry of Education, what we try to do now is to tie in parent engagement to all of our programs. Because we believe when parents know what to do, definitely parents will get on board. It will be a movement for parents. When parents work with their children and have a close bond, and the child can talk with you, it helps. I was in high school in Monrovia College, and I had my social studies teacher, who started making passes at me. Every time I took my paper to him, he would, say something. And so I was doing that. Those kind of things that teachers do. And I told him, I said, I don't like it, don't do it to me again. But my mother was a midwife, And I am the last girl of my mother's children, and I'm the person who really, really stayed with her. My older siblings stayed with her foster parents. And so whenever we were doing, she had patients, we were doing delivery, she used that, the time when we're sitting down, she used that as teachable moments. And so as I left home and started to go to professional school and start to learn about the bond that should be between parents and children, parents and children, I started to think about my mom. I said, but she didn't go that far in school, but she knew the importance of talking with your child, of bonding with your child. So I came home and I told her, I said, this is what my teacher is saying. And she positioned herself. She said, hey, you see how I'm facing myself, that try how you must fix yourself when you go to him. So I went to the school, I told him, I positioned myself, I put my finger in his face. I said, my mom said, if you want to see her grateful face, you must say that to me again. Just like she told me to do it, I did it. I never saw him do that again. The next time I met him, it was at KRTTI, and he was just telling people, you see the Fisher girl, she first scared. But he can't tell me what made me first scared. And he didn't explain myself, he didn't explain. But because of what my mother, because I told her there was this space, there was this line of communication, so I could tell her anything.
Yeah.
So many of our children, people start to make these passes on them, but they keep it to themselves. I'll tell you another story. A couple of years ago, we went to, on a highway there to Bombay, the school is called Gatinasi. This girl was fully pregnant by maybe 8 months. We got a complaint that she was impregnated by a teacher. When we got there was a second girl impregnated by the same teacher. So we had Ministry of Gender, Ministry of Justice, on mail at the time, police, all of the women and children group, we went there. We had a meeting the first day. And the girl explained everything. And apparently when we left, we were supposed to go back the next day. Apparently when we left, the community got on that woman. And when we got there the next day, the woman said, I never told you anything. The teacher, you do nothing to my daughter. Because of what the community did to her, she swore to everything, I tell her anything, my daughter not pregnant for the man, and I was said. And if the person said, no, but the person didn't do something to me, what can you do? So a big chunk of our awareness had to be around the parents, because they're the ones our children are with. So we really need to do a lot of work with the children. The ministry can do all the policies, have the girls' education policies. We are about to, we started revising it before COVID. But the policy is one thing. The reality is another thing.
That's true. So Felicia, how, even though this group is new and you are not collaborating yet, but what is the level of outreach to, let's say, the gender ministry, the justice ministry, the education ministry? Because if you have these people on board, that's going to help, foster what you're doing.
Okay, not just with girls' education, beginning from early childhood education, what we do, we have a national intersectoral group. So we have an intersectoral group for early childhood. So you have gender, information, finance, who else is there? Agriculture. Those are people on the group. And the whole plan is that whatever we do at education has implication for what police is doing, for what gender is doing. So we try to see how we can meet regularly and share our plans and see how we can move further. So we also work along with groups like this. Particularly the Ministry of Education, a lot of the work we do it with our local partners. So it will be a good thing that once we resume work, unfortunately, I'm leading the girls' education division, we can open our arms to the group and see how we can work. Because if you're directly working with the Ministry of Education, definitely, uh, uh, I'm not guaranteeing the source of funding, but that's the way it works. That you are working with the Ministry of Education. So if you find some funding somewhere, we can give you recommendation and say, hey, this group is working with us in this way, and then we recommend them for whatever funding that they are requesting.
Thank you. And so,
and just to add to that, please. So like for what Sis Felicia said, this group has not come to to replace whosoever or to replace the Ministry of Gender or whatever. We've come to work alongside the Ministry of Gender to look at some of those thematic areas that the Ministry of Gender has lacked in terms of fighting SGBV, to be able to provide support as Liberians. So we've been raising the awareness to create a tag for our group, to make sure that we have a tag in the area of SGBV in Liberia, so that we can move forward. Because we know that the Ministry of Gender, the Ministry of Education cannot do it alone, right? So we have to come out, civil society organizations, grouping like this, have to come along to work with the Ministry of Gender. And we're so happy that Sis Felicia is here. We're going to be working with the Ministry of Gender, we're going to be working with the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Justice, because these are autonomous agencies, these are administrations in Liberia that are looking at girls' issue, that are looking at women issue, and that are fighting to protect women and girls. I just want to add that.
And that's very important. So in this, I don't want to be political here, but our country is polarized. Whatever you do, you are either saying has this way or that way. So sometimes, because I see a lot of advocacy on the social media, but what's happening is you can have a very genuine issue, but depending on who you support, let's say if you are hardcore opposition or hardcore government supporter, people tend to not support what you are doing because of how they view you politically. How are you trying to walk that fine line so that the group is not polarized because of politics, because they see you as being for this political party or this or other politician? How are you trying to do that?
So we'll just allow Sis Jackie to address that.
You're muted, Jackie. Jackie, please unmute your.
Yes, we do try to walk a fine line when it comes to that, but that doesn't mean that we don't hold the government feet to the fire. I mean, frankly, if there's anybody who feel that because they are of one political persuasion or the other, that they cannot help Liberians as a whole, then frankly, that's not a party that you want to be part of, because it is Liberia first. I mean, I've traveled to a lot of other African countries, and every time I go, it's always the country first. So nationalism is not always a bad thing. It can be a good thing, So, for example, and we said this before, we try to tell the government that political will is missing. For example, you know that recently we've seen on Facebook and in the newspapers a lot of young kids with their pictures, and they've been sexually abused, but they have the pictures. Now, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child specifically gives the child the right to privacy. So you don't put the child's picture. You don't show the child's picture. It says that the child has the right to a nationality. It says the child has a right to what? Education. So what we're doing is we're looking at these conventions and treaties that the government have signed, and we've said to them, look, you are Liberians. You can be for whatever political party, but you are Liberians. Permit me. CDC didn't sign the African Charter. Unity Party didn't sign it. The government of Liberia signed it. And as the government of Liberia, you now have to put provisions in those treaties, make them laws, in your constitution or amendments, so that we can move forward. So if you say that a child is entitled to an education, right? And you know that, the Ministry of Education, they've been doing a good job with online teaching, right? So you say, look, what about the child in Bapolu? Do they have Wi-Fi? How are they getting their education? So we try not to put politics in. With the gender ministry, we've been very vocal because yes, the gender ministry is headed by a partisan of the CBC, but that is not our primary goal. Our primary goal is how can we help you? You know, as Liberians say, one hand cannot pick lice. So how can we help you? You know, to stop all of these things that are happening in our society. So I don't think that we would welcome or encourage any group or any person who would say, well, we shouldn't work with this party or this party because they are not in power or because it's not my party. That is not what we do. As I said, we're not a monolith. So we are a conglomerate of people with differing ideas, differing party persuasions, but we have one goal. That goal is alleviate sexual violence and gender-based violence in the country. That's it.
So what has the response been from the gender ministry or from the justice ministry regarding what you're doing? Have you tried to reach out or say something? What has been the response?
Aaron, do you want to take that?
Yeah. So right now, like Sis Jackie said, we have come to work. So the thing is, we haven't been able to reach out yet because all of the public institutions have been closed based on the lockdown. But we intend to do so, and when we do so, we're going to approach them in a proper manner. We're going to work alongside them, like what Sis Jackie is saying. But right now, just yesterday, our president just extended the lockdown to 9 o'clock. So we're looking forward to that. But for now, like what I said earlier, we've been trying to raise more awareness, to talk to more Liberians, to talk to more people about SGBV, about the rate of SGBV. And then we'll reach out to these authorities, and then we'll engage them. We'll look at what they have on their books. What do we have to, to contribute, and how can we all work together to alleviate SGBV in Liberia?
But Aaron,
as an aside, we did reach out to the gender minister. We've reached out to her numerous times, and she has not responded. But we have reached out to her.
Right, that's what I was going to say, because the lockdown cannot prevent an email or
yes,
a
we
letter.
have reached out to her.
Right.
So that's right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing sexual and gender-based violence in Liberia. I have with me Mr. Aaron Ireland, who's joining us from Monrovia, Assistant Education Minister Felicia Saki Dosuma, and also Jackie Sayer. So if you want to join the conversation, please call in. The number is posted right there. So you can call to join the conversation. But let's go back again and see really with this sexual, what are some of the causes in Liberia? Because of social media, we see that we are hearing about these things more than ever before. Why do you think this is happening? And Aaron made mention of the guy who sexually assaulted and raped a 10-year-old girl selling milk candy. And so what is responsible for this kind of thing that you think? Because before you even create the awareness, you should know the root cause.
So should I take that, Sister Jackie? You want to take that?
No, take it.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, so from my point of view, and I'm speaking from an advocacy standpoint, I look at the issue of SGBV and the level of rape, a serious issue. One of the causes, I think, is poverty. Now, if you follow the story of what we're talking about, the guy who raped his stepdaughter, now the girl mother knew about this, but she was afraid to come out because she think if she come out, her husband, who may have taken her from wherever he took her, would have put her back in the street, and she never had anywhere to go. All right. So poverty is one of the major reasons. I said one time we had this same discussion on the Costa show.
You mean the perpetrators? Because
yes. Poverty is one reason. When we talk about domestic sexual gender-based violence, we're looking at poverty also. This is one of the reasons why people take advantage of people based on the fact that they can, they can provide for the family, they can provide for the group of people. So people will not want to come up because this person is providing for me. I know of a case. I met some part of last year. I was writing my thesis and I went to Grand Bassa County, Bon County, sorry, to write my do some research. And then I came across few stories about this same issue, how people will give their children to somebody and say, oh yeah, I want to take your children to Monrovia to go to school, and then we'll send them to good school and they will learn because they don't have money. They'll come to Monrovia. These parents, these people, they will not follow after these children, right? And even if they know about these children, they wouldn't want to come up because they are afraid that when they say it, this person will not, no longer want to sponsor the family. I know in 2017, that was me. That was the former Speaker of the Children's Parliament. That was the Children's Right Ambassador Ibrahim Keita. We staged a protest in the country against a lawmaker called Mariah Willie. This is somebody who was, he allegedly raped his niece, in the house. And this girl got pregnant with the same story now. And this is something that happened all of the time. Poverty, ignorance, lack of information about these things. Community people see these things happen in their community. They don't know the steps to take. Last week we were on the Truth FM and was telling the people, sometimes we need to look at the issue of community people being part of these things and how can community people be a part of the fighting of SGBV in Liberia. We have to inform them. We have the children, women and children protection section at every police station in Liberia. What are they doing? How much are they doing to engage community people? How much are they doing to engage community leadership to talk about these things so that if these things happen in the community, so that they know the channels by which they could do this, they could carry out the viewer processing. And also, before I turn up to some of my other panelists to make their point, I also think important in cardinal the issue of the law, the justice system. The justice system has been very, very, very much slow, has been very weak in addressing these issues. If we have people being penalized, if we have people being sent to court and being found guilty if they are guilty and facing the law, we have that there would be a little more of reduction in SGBV. But the justice system is so slow to the extent that people don't take these things seriously. Sometimes you have in a community, someone has been charged of rape. The person goes to the court and then they're just there. They have not been charged. There is no justice system for these people. Some people, and before I just laid this down, day before yesterday, we were on Radio Monrovia. And there was this issue with people having, cases that happen in the rural area. And this also boils down to poverty. How can you have these issues happening? We have bars associations that have been, decentralizing all of the counties. But you find out that these bar associations, all of these people that represent the counties, these lawyers that represent the county, they are in Monrovia. So you find out that if someone has a case in Nima County, for example, and this case is being brought to Monrovia, before this case is being followed, the person, I'm talking about the victim and their family, is responsible to transport this person, the perpetrator, to Monrovia or to the Sacred Court to be able to go to court. Every single time there's a case at the Sacred Court in the county, is the responsibility of the victims and their family to take the perpetrator to the court. How do you think the issue of gender-based violence is being taken seriously? Not all of the families in Liberia have this financial capability to uphold this situation. These are some of the root cause of SGBV. I would just like to leave it at this and let some of the panelists, talk about it.
I would like to jump in, but I wanted to know if Patience wanted to go first.
Patience is not on.
Oh, okay. Let me check again. Maybe someone is. Nobody.
Patience left. Patient job.
Okay, so I would like to jump in and say that there are some things that I disagree with Aaron on, but again, that's the discussion. I do not think that poverty is the case, or else we will not have rapists like Jeffrey Epstein, some of these multimillionaires the lawmakers. We all grew up in Liberia in very poor conditions. The level of rape that we're seeing now, we did not see it. Something has happened to our society that has made it very easy. But poverty is not it. It may be maybe one, but it's not high on my list. The first one is institutional breakdown, which comes with impunity and which comes with what? Loss of economic independence. So, of course, the mother or the father, doesn't always have to be the mother, will stay with an abuser who's abusing her kids because he or she cannot make it on their own. That's one. Yeah, that's poverty. That can be remedied by economic independence. The institutional breakdown, because look at it this way: if it's not a power play, show me one rapist in Liberia who've raped a daughter of a lawmaker, who've raped a daughter of a minister.
Nobody.
Because it is a power play. They raped, they marginalized those that are without power. So the child who's selling her peanuts on the street is a very easy prey. The woman who goes down waterside and leaves her children unattended is very easy. Whereas the lawmakers, they have nannies to take care of the kids. I have yet to see where somebody will say, you know what, I'm going to rape, but I'm going to rape a lawmaker's daughter. No, because they know the full weight will be brought down on them. So it is an institutional breakdown. The institutions don't work for the marginalized and the vulnerable. The second one, and I said that before, there is something in our society. There is a breakdown of values. There is something that needs to be restored in our country. It's like anything goes. Anything goes now. No, we must build that value system again. And then we must influence people as well. Again, and like Aaron said, yes, poverty is in. Because like when we were growing up, okay, your parents sleep in one room, you sleep in one room, but now people are poor. Everybody sleep in the same room. So you're sitting there, your parents are making love or having sex, and poor child is in the room having to turn their face. So it's a mixture, it's a toxic brew of so many things. But I would not say it's only poverty, because if you say that, what you're doing is consigning rapists or the rape culture to people who don't have, and that is not true. Some of the worst rapists are people who use their power and they are in government. You know,
that is true. And so Samuel, you can unmute yourself. So before you come in, let me add another layer on top of that, which is knowing the root cause of awareness alone will not cut it. What else are you doing? Go ahead, Samuel.
Yeah, you talked about awareness. What else are we doing? And the
question they were answering is what are some of the causes of LGBT, and what you as a group, what are you doing to address that?
Yes. What we are doing right now is we are organizing ourselves and trying to organize our. Am I okay?
Yeah, your voice is bad. The audio.
Oh, I don't know what's going on.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're trying to organize ourselves. I listen to Jackie. I listen to Era briefly, but actually knowing the causative factors, trying to know the problem will help you to tackle the problem. For instance, you cannot treat an illness. For instance, you came to the hospital. I need to do I need to get your specimen. I need to do your lab and know what's happening to you before I can treat you. So now we get in Liberia. That's why we talk about gender-based violence in Liberia. We talk about poverty. Those are some of the causes factors. We talk about traditional beliefs. Yes. So for now, we are kind of grouping, and then we're going to be having meetings, to the public. Yes, for now we are announcing to the public, stop this, stop this, stop this. But more to that will be marrying our ideas, as a group, as a team, and then organizing our activity plan on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis.
All right, we're kind of losing Samuel right there.
And yeah, just before we move forward, I just want to, something just struck in my mind. So I remember when I was the Norwegian Refugee Council, and we used to do this GBV trainings in various communities. And one of the key factors that we found cardinal to the cause of SBV in Liberia is silence. And you'll find out that there is this thing they call it the GBV tree. And the GBV tree has to do with, they got the root, they got the growth, and then they got the leaf and everything. Now, at the root cause, you have silence. Silence has been one of the key factors of the high rate of SBV. These things happen in our homes. These things happen in our communities, but people don't say it out. And sorry if I'm going, maybe if I may be going out of track, but this is very important. That until we can keep, aligning this issue, like what we do, we're raising awareness, but also raising awareness is just not enough. We need to go to the homes. Like, take, for example, I was talking about the statistics of last year. Now, 600 out of 800 of the rape cases that we reported last year was done against children, and they were all domestic violence. These are things that happen in the home. So, like the case recently with the guy who raped his stepdaughter. When we start saying these things out, when community people start to say these things out, and don't see it as problem, and don't see it as, if I say it out, the community people will see me bad, and they will castigate me and stuff like that. Then we are moving forward.
Thank you.
So silence is one issue. We need to look at silence also. We need to break silence when it comes to GBV issues in Liberia.
All right, we have a caller on the line. I want to bring in this caller. So before we move forward, caller, your name and where you calling from? Hello, caller, 617. Your last 3 digits, 4 digits, 3389. Your name and where you joining us from?
Yes, this is I'm calling from Boston, Massachusetts. My name is Emmanuel Jackson.
Emmanuel Jackson, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Your question or comment?
Yeah, I just want to make a comment. I definitely concur with all that Sister Jackie said. And we have a societal problem in Liberia, and I think is compartmentalized. We have some of us who practice Christianity. Within that realm, we practice the traditional way of living. We practice secret societies and all these things. And I think it's conflicting because I noticed since the coup in 1980, the prayer society tradition were elevated in the society. And as you know, in the rural era, there was a lot of work done through the missionaries to expand Christianity. So a lot of people in the rural areas became Christians. And then so this conflict came up where people say, well, you can still go ahead and practice your tradition that you practice. And this is highly confusing to a society that wants to grow and develop. So we have to stick to the point that if we're Christian, we should practice the norms of Christianity. If we're going to be traditional, stay in that. But don't go into Christianity, plus you in some other thing and you in this other thing. And it's mostly at the highest level of our society. Like Jackie said, most of the rape is done basically by people who get away with it. And so the people who get punished in Liberia for crimes is always the commoners. It's never the people at the higher level of society. And then the legal system does not interpret the law in the right way. It does not implement the law. The rule of law is not being implemented. A lot of people go into Louis Arthur Graham School of Law simply to study law, to get in the profession, to make money, instead of implementing the laws of Liberia, where people can be held accountable for their actions, whether you're at the highest level or you're at the lowest level. Look, for example, like in the United States now, what has happened with George Floyd's case. They're going back into 10 years of cases of police or mishandling of people in the community. So until we can address these kind of societal issues, where a man can be a man to himself and know that if I'm a Christian, if I pledge my loyalty to Christ, then I must follow what the scriptures say. I must respect the family values. I must implement it to the highest level, where those who are at the base of society that wants to excel in society can have the privileges and the opportunities that you have had. But this attitude of, do you know who I am? The imperialist presidency that we fought so many wars for to end it, and then create a society where the law is based on equal footing. These things have been swept aside. And then again, if you look at our budget too. Yeah.
Emmanuel, before you continue, you confused me from the beginning there with the Poro and the Sunday. Are you saying because we have these traditional schools, is that why rape continues? And because these guys people are in the traditional institution, also part of Christianity. What is the link there? You confused me.
No, the link there is people who are in higher authority. And if you look at, people who are in higher authority, they try to establish themselves in the traditional schools. Let me put it that way. And you find them also the practice of Christianity. So, and this kind of behavior tends to make you think you are above the law. You think you're on a footing of being like a smarter God. If you look at some of the rape cases we talk about, I know some government officials in the past were involved in rape. When I mean government officials, people who are economically feasible, like Jackie was saying, and they don't get punished. But you hardly find rape with people on a lower stratum. It's always people who can get away with such behavior in society. So what I'm saying is our norms that we accept from our belief system, we should practice it to the highest level. We shouldn't try to denigrate ourselves like, oh, okay, I have my wife and my children at home. Then you go out in the night and you got 2, 3, 5, 6 girlfriends. This is happening with government officials. This is what they're doing. And then and then one more point, one last point I want to make. And if you look at the budget, how money is appropriated to help this program, the money is always siphoned. It's always deviated from advancing this program on the level where it becomes mature to the point that we can build institutions that will correct these problems. But these institutions are always struggling. You always have the advocates, the social service people talking about it, but the funding to push this program forward from the government level is never available.
Agree. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. I agree with you right there that funding, we don't have money, and money is the answer for everything. I'm quoting the Bible now, not myself. All right. So we are way into our program. Let's look at your plan of implementation. I know you just formed it, and there's this pandemic that sometimes inhibits movement. But so what are your next plan of action? And I want to see, because like even what we are doing, probably only people in Monrovia will see this. But people that are outside of Monrovia, in Paye or in Butuo or Bokon, they will not be able to see this. So what's your plan? And how are you going to tailor the message so that our people that cannot even read and write get to benefit from the awareness that you are doing? Jackie, you can take that.
Okay, so I think we called it the three A's, which is awareness, assessment, and action.
Okay.
So what we're doing is saying, okay, there is a problem, right? But do they know there's a problem? Let's find out if they know. How can we find out? By telling them this is what is going on. This is what the legal instruments say. What is happening in Liberia, and then we assess how prevalent is rape, how dire is the situation. After the assessment, then we say, no, now here is our plan of action. We've strategized and we put together a plan of action, and now we are moving it forward. And moving it forward with people on the ground in Liberia, like says Felicia, says Precious, you know, and Brother Aaron, and the others, and the people in the diaspora. But right now, like I said, we are doing awareness. And then you say, okay, but how long is this going to continue? Awareness will not end. As long as there are people who feel like there's nothing wrong, as long as there are people in the community who feel like, oh, you know, as long as he didn't beat his wife, it's okay, awareness will continue. The action will come when maybe in few weeks from now, when we get together again, because we do have weekly meetings, and then we put a plan of action together and then move forward with that. So that's where we are now.
And no, on messaging, I'll give you an example, because a lot of people don't know this. Like in my language, rape, the equivalent of rape, R-A-P-E,
Yes.
is rape, R-I-P. And so normally when they talk of rape, they're talking about forceful penetration of maybe of a virgin,
Yes.
that they will actually rip them apart.
Okay.
So if you tell someone like all the forms that Samuel talk about, if you go to my village and say that, they will laugh at you because they don't understand that to be rape. So how are you going to reach those people? And I give you another example. Some people went to the Firestone area to teach about family planning, right? And so they took the condoms and they were demonstrating, and they put the condom on their fingers. So the men, every time they are going to bed, they are going to sleep with their wife. What they did, they put the condom on their fingers. So then they at the end, the birth rate went up, and so they were furious. So how are you going to plan your messaging and your demonstration, your visual, so that you don't have condom on your fingers?
That's why they say context matters. You know, context matters. So, for example, if you are demonstrating condoms in a rural society, you will not bring men and women together. You will have a meeting with the men. You know, because people, despite the rape, people in the rural areas, they are very conservative when it comes to sexual norms. You know, so I would say men would call the other men and show them, hey, no, I mean, draw a picture, put a video on. That's what they should be doing. Now, obviously, I think when they were doing that, they had women within the mix. And of course, they can show, you know, but context matters. Where you're going, you need somebody from that community to go with you, to be able to speak in a local language and say, look, this is how you do it. You know, this is not time for play. Now, when it comes to rape, like we're saying, if it's not sexual penetration, then the people will laugh. You have to show them that, you know, it's grooming. It's when the man touches the little girl and then he pinches her bottom and then he goes from there, he touches her breast. It's grooming. So they're saying, well, he didn't rape her yet, or he didn't rape her. No. Whatever actions he's doing, he's grooming that little girl or that little boy. Because after a while, he's going to ramp it up. He's going to start from the squeezing of the breast. Now it's going to be the hand under the breast. So you have to show them that, say, look, I know, sister, I know, ma, you think this is not rape, but ma, this is going somewhere. It's not just squeezing the breast, it is going somewhere. And believe me, the rural people, they know. They may not be formally educated or literate, but they know, you know. So then they go with you on that journey. They'll say, oh yeah, he's right. Touching the breast leads to something else. But many of our people, when they go up to the rural areas, they either want to patronize, talk down to the people as if they know. these people have lived experiences. They know what they go through. So I would say that it's funny. I mean, I'm sorry, it's a funny story about putting the thing, but that shows failure on the people who went there to transmit a message that was very important. I think that was a failure on their part.
Right, and so I told that story so that you be careful how you present your message. Let me bring in Felicia, and I'm going to be biased here because I'm from Monrovia College as well. So, so Felicia, let's look at the laws. You know, I know because one thing I think it was Jackie who mentioned on one of your awareness program that these laws are signed when they go to these big treaties, but when they come home now, how to localize them and make them part of our laws is where people are lacking. So you are in Liberia. How are the laws, you know, that are on the books concerning gender-based violence? Are they effective? Are they there? Do people know that they exist? You know, the song we play before at the beginning of the show by MC Carroll say, if you rape, we'll kill you. Are there laws there? And how are those laws being implemented? Are they strong? Do people know so that when you are a victim, you are able to take advantage of those laws and go to the court?
Well, like we say again, awareness is being raised around. The laws are there, but do people really know? There are some people who know about it. There are people who hear about it, and there are people who are not, I would say, sensitized enough to know exactly what to do. So that's why the issue of collaboration is key. We have a law around gender-based violence. We need to have Ministry of Justice talking with Ministry of Gender, with Ministry of Education, with Ministry of Finance, because we know it has financial implications, with Ministry of Information. So when all of these sectors are working together, we can find ourselves going somewhere. So the structure is there. We just need some more enforcement and some more real talking together about what can we do and how.
So Aaron, there have been other you know, your group is not the first doing this. I know there are people on the ground already. I listened to one of your programs from this group, and I think the former Minister of Gender came on and said, well, we're doing those things. Are there groups like your group now already on the ground doing these things? And what are you doing to kind of collaborate with them? Because you see, Liberia is just like one body. Somebody treating the hand and another person treating the foot and another person treating the head. We must all know what each other does so that we can collaborate. Are there people on the ground that you can collaborate with? Organizations, non-profit organization, for-profit organization, or whatever, that they are on the ground already doing it. What are you doing to collaborate with them?
Okay, yeah, thank you. So let's say Jackie said in earlier that first of all we've reached out to the Ministry of Gender already, and we're trying to create a relationship with the ministry because they are in charge of every gender-based violence issues in Liberia. Also, I know that in subsequent times, these are all young people that are part of this group. Are people who are all part of different. They have all of them. We have different engagements. We are all into different issues. Like take for example, me. I have a youth organization I've been working with the Ministry of Justice, SUV Crimes Unit, and the Ministry of Gender. So moving forward, if we should succeed in ending gender-based violence in Liberia, eliminating gender-based violence in Liberia, it's not about who does this or who is doing this. It's about how well we can all come together. We can all have collective efforts to
Aaron?
yeah.
Sorry for interrupting. My question is this group now reaching out to the group that you are part of to work together on anything whatsoever?
So the fact that I'm here means they reach out, right? Because I'm the executive director. So that's
Okay.
one thing you should know. The fact that says Felicia is here, you know that we've already reached out to the Ministry of Education. So we're reaching out to as much institutions as possible. Like I said, now one person cannot do this, one group cannot do this. This is Liberia. Monrovia is not Liberia, and we all are into this thing together. So we're reaching out to as many groups as possible. Like Samuel. Samuel has experience in other groups, and we've reached out to him. So we all are from different forms of group and gatherings that we're connecting with each other and meeting here and expanding the work in different locations in different forms, in different ways.
And Samuel, unmute
So I'll
yourself.
say
I have a
yes.
question for you.
Yeah.
So Samuel, if these groups are already on the ground doing something, why form a new group? Is it because you think they are not doing it right, or there's something that they are doing wrong that you're trying to correct on this new group?
Well, I think you heard Aaron saying something is the methodology. I think this group tries to amalgamate efforts and try to kind of look at the past, look at other groups, for me, I will look at what went right and I capture it from the past area that I worked, and then what needs improvement, then I'll bring it on board to this group. We are not trying to criticize or to look down on other institutions. No. As a matter of fact, we're going to induce the principle of collaboration and coordination. We have what we call stakeholder meetings. All right. Stakeholders are those who are doing the same kinds of work that you do. So you people meet together. You people have some workshop together. You people have, some talking points together. Your brainstorm. We all are moving towards one goal, and the one goal here is we want to alleviate Liberia from all sort of sexual violence and sexual.
Thank you.
Oh God.
Thank you. Okay. And that's it. When you're working on one body, all of us have to talk to each other. Now we've gone almost 1 hour 30 minutes, and so we're going to be ending our broadcast, but not until I get your final thoughts. And in your final thoughts, I know this group has started doing this thing. There are challenges. There are some good areas. There are some inroads that you have made already. So in your closing statement, just tell me about those challenges and what you have done to overcome them, how far, how well your message is already resonating or not resonating. And I see that sometimes you talk about these things. So let's conclude by getting your final thoughts, and anything else that we have not covered, you can wrap it in there for 2 minutes each. We see we are having some technical issue with Samuel.
Yeah.
So let's see who you got. Felicia, if you are there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Says
go
Felicia,
ahead.
can you start? No, I was about to say, says Felicia, can you start?
Felicia, unmute yourself, Felicia, before you. We are wrapping it up. Oh, just hold your thought there. Let me read a few comments from Facebook. We want to be very loyal. Johnson Willer said, violation of human rights has intensified recently. The government refused to adhere to civil rights movement. And then Dave Jar wrote, yes, poverty is also a precursor to the culture of rape. The issues of abuse and rape have been around for a long time since then. There is just not enough awareness nowadays. This is the way they have been highlighted. Sorry. There's not enough awareness nowadays. This is why they are being highlighted. Rape is also rooted in system practices where the exploitation of the weak is a display of power and control. Please note also that there are folks who are psychologically deranged. They are referred to as pedophilia. Beware of such sick people. So let's conclude here, and we start with Felicia. Just unmute yourself, please, and give your final thoughts. Anything I didn't reach, You can end it there for 2 minutes.
Okay, so for my final thought, I'd just like to say thanks to all of you for this effort, because if one Liberian child is raped or maltreated, it affects every other person, because we all related one way or the other. So the fact that we can come together and start to think about it is the beginning of our success. Because once we agree that we can collaborate, and the government welcomes collaboration with all partners, because the government cannot do it alone. So sometimes when the other stakeholders start to hail the drum or sound the trumpet, then the government gets up and say, "Hey, I'm hearing something and it's getting too frequent. What can we do about it?" But the Ministry of Education is open. Please, let's work very closely together so that we can see how we can help to make sure that the issue of sexual violence and other forms of violence end. And I want to say end. I want to be very ambitious and say end. We know we can't end it now, but we can do something to gradually reduce it until it becomes something that we don't tolerate anymore. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll want to have you back from the ministry so we can talk to us. Let me go to Aaron.
Yeah, thank you very much for having us. We're very appreciative for this opportunity to be able to talk about issues that, are rising in Liberia. Um, I am very, very much sure that it is all of us obligation as citizens of Liberia, as Liberians, and also as government, to make sure that SGBV and all form of GBV ends in Liberia, like Sis Felicia said. They should end. Last time we were on the radio and we said this, we will not stop this until we see a 0% of SGBV or all forms of violence in Liberia. And perpetrators who are constantly in the habit of, violating the rights of women, girls, and boys should stop. This is enough. And I also want to say, lastly, that it is the duty and the government's honor obligation to protect all her citizens from all forms of violence. Perpetrators should not be walking freely in the streets of Monrovia. It is our duty to make sure that they face the law, and we are not going to rest until these people single-handedly, one by one, if we have to take all of them to law to face justice, they must face justice, because this is what we are called to do, and this is the obligation of the government, and this is what we have ascribed to as a group. Thank you very much again for having us, and I'm so glad to be here. I'm looking forward to another interesting discussion. Thank you.
Welcome back anytime. Focus on Liberia. Our goal here is to educate, to promote, and elevate all things Liberia. Jackie.
Yeah, I echo Aaron to say thank you. For me, I think that impunity, but it can be dealt with. I know that in New York, in domestic situation, if they're having domestic violence and the police come, what they do is, if they ascertain there's probable cause, right, that there's violence, but say the wife or the husband doesn't want to press charges, they still take the person because they have probable cause. So if you look at that correlation to Liberia, the young child who's pregnant or who has been abused has no voice, no agency, right? The community or the parents takes on the agency and say, oh, there's no crime being committed. But you have the evidence. If that child gives birth, or you take that child and do DNA and find that that child has been violated, that's the proof right there. So how is it that when the child gives birth, everything ends? You have the child. You have the baby. You can do a DNA test and you can still arrest that person. So the political will and this impunity has to go away. Many of us, like Sis Felicia said, her mother taught her well. My great-grandmother, Grebo as well, she taught us to inhale smoke.
Oh, my mother is Grebo too, says Jackie. My mother is Grebo too. Thank you very much for making that.
So we were taught to breathe fire. young people, youth, young girls and boys,
Yes.
they must not be nice to people who makes them feel uncomfortable. They must say to them, get away
That's the
from me,
point.
step off. But we are always taught, oh, let's smile. And oh, the man says, can you come and visit me at my house? And then you are hesitant. Just give me a little minute. You're hesitant to go. And he says, what do you think I'm going to do to you? Nothing. And you, knowing that it might happen, but you still go. If he locks the door, you're stuck. So my last words to young people, do not make anybody feel comfortable who makes you feel uncomfortable. And again,
Yes.
if people walk into your homes, whether it's a man or a woman, do not tell your child, go and hug that person. If the child doesn't want to hug your friend who's a man, don't force little girls. Go hug your uncle. Go hug your past friend. No, do not do that. Those little things give the kids agency so that they can say no. Strengthen the kids. But I would say that when the police comes, even if the community say, oh, that child was not raped, if you feel that there's probable cause, take that child away. Do a DNA. Get the baby. Do a DNA on the baby. Get that person behind bars. And, and I will leave it at that.
Jackie, you are talking about Liberia and you keep saying DNA. It doesn't exist.
Oh yeah. No, we have one DNA machine.
Yeah, there's DNA. And then usually when a child is born,
sometimes
the child looks like the parent. So you know.
Okay.
You have to punish them. You have to punish them.
Thank you so
since
much.
Felicia, I'm reaching out to you very soon, please. So be expecting my call.
And one question says, Felicia, do they have sexual education in the schools?
Yes.
Okay.
We just redid the curriculum, and we have sexuality embedded into almost all of the subjects.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I attended one of the meetings.
And that's why, Felicia, we are inviting you back on Focus on Liberia to talk about that and more on especially what you are doing right now during the pandemic, because my kids are here and they're still going to school. Okay, so we have the facilities here. So we want to see what the Ministry of Education doing to inculcate, not just.
So if you look behind me, right now I'm at the radio station, so we can talk more about what we're doing.
Yeah, we can talk.
We're doing lessons on the radio. There are different.
Anytime you because you are still in your formative stage, so anytime after you grow some teeth, please, you feel free to come back to talk more on the progress you are making or the difficulties you are having. I know it's a short show. We didn't even go into the challenges because we want to focus on the goal first. Challenges will always be, and see what you are doing. I want to thank you again on behalf of all of us here at Focus on Liberia. We want to say thank you. 3 o'clock, we want to say that we're going to be having our show on business and economics. So we call that FOL Marketplace. Then at 7, we're going to have a debate. That will be social politics at 7. Keep your dial set at Focus on Liberia, where we educate, elevate, and promote all things Liberia. Until then, from all of us here, I say thanks for coming. Have a good and godly day. And remember,
thank you.
Take all the precautions and be safe.
Bye. Thank you very much.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia, all we want. Liberia, all we want. Liberia,